We're into super admin creation and provisioning.
Yeah, we have completed with the second step, which is super admin. Okay, let me share my screen. See my screen, right?
Yes, Venu.
Okay. So the second step is done. Now the third step, which is go to recommended implementation sequence. This third step is defining the corporate data model. Okay, very, very important concept. The data models, you'll be getting around 10 questions in your certification. Every interview that you face, you'll get definitely some questions on the data models. It will always start with the data models. Okay. Now, we have a concept of data models in SuccessFactors. Okay. And all of these data models are in XML language. So does that mean that we should know XML language? Yes, everybody should have some knowledge of XML. Though we will not be doing any kind of coding here in SuccessFactors, we should have an understanding how or what is defined in XML. So we should have understanding of what is a data model and what does it contain. If required, if we have to change anything, we'll be doing minor changes. We'll not be writing lines of code in XML or in data models. Okay, let's see what are those data models. First, let's see what are the different data models that we have in SuccessFactors, and we'll come to corporate data model or the first data model. The first data model that we have is corporate data model. Second is country specific corporate data model. Third is succession data model. Fourth is country specific succession data model. Fifth is HRIS propagation. Sixth is event reason derivation. And seventh is workflow rules. So these are the 7 data models that we have in Employee Central, or that we had in Employee Central. Some of them we are not using. Let's see what are these. But you should be knowing all of these data models. Okay, there's 7 data models. You should know all of these data models. Okay. Corporate first data model is corporate data model. First data model is corporate data model. Corporate data model is used to define foundation objects. Now we talked about foundation objects in kickoff template. What are foundation objects? Foundation objects are building blocks of EC system. They are the building blocks of EC system. They are used to define the org, pay, and org job and pay structure. All the elements related to organization, job, and pay are defined in corporate data model. These objects are called foundation objects. To give an example, we have company, business unit, division, department, cost center. So these are the org structure elements. These forms the org structure of any organization. Now, when you start working with any of the customer, the first thing we should know is their org structure. How are they operating? What are their objects? How many companies they have? How many business units they have? How many departments they have? where all they operate from. Location group are also part of the org structure. Then you have job structure elements, the type of job that the employee is doing, and that job is called the job classification or job code. We call it the job classification or job code. And then we have job function. Job function can be used in recruiting or in the job profile builder. The type of job that the employee does in the organization, depending on the customer that we are implementing for. If you are implementing for manufacturing industry, you will have job codes or job type or job classifications called a worker or an electrician or a fitter or an engineer. You'll find all of these job types. If you are implementing for IT industry, then you will find developers, you will find functional consultants, you will find analysts and so on. You're working for a chemical industry or medical industry, you'll find a druggist or you'll find a chemist. You'll find different job codes there. So you need to understand what is the job structure, what is the lowest level and what is the highest level. And then in pay, we have different objects like grade, pay component, range, etc. Pay range, etc. Pay grade is nothing but a band. See, pay grade is used to differentiate the pay structure of the employee, at what grade the employee is in. Then pay components or the salary components are a wage types which are assigned to employees' pay structure, like basic, HRE, special allowance, convenience, medicals, and so on. Pay range is a salary range that is used to define the range of salary for a particular grade, the minimum, mid, and maximum salary that can be offered to a particular grade. So all of these objects are called foundation objects. And each and every object that we create, you will have to maintain some data for these objects. Like if I have to create a range, pay range, so I need to define the minimum salary, maximum salary, mid salary, and what is the frequency, whether it is paid monthly or half yearly or annual, or what currency is it? Is it INR? Is it USD? So I need to maintain all of that data. If I have to create a grade, I need to define the grade ID, name of the grade, level of the grade, etc. If I have to create a company, I need to give the company ID, company name, start date of the company, what the country that the company belongs to, what is the location of that company, how many hours the employee would be working for a particular, in that particular company. So we need to define different fields for different objects. And all of these fields are defined in corporate data model. So let me show you that in the system, so it would be easy to understand. If I go here in the instance, while creating any of these foundation objects, okay, I'll give you the navigation. Now, if I have to create a location, so these are all foundation objects. Under create new, whatever objects that you see, these are foundation objects. Now you see, these are the fields that we have to fill to create one location. Location ID, location name, location status, location group, the use zone of that location. We need to fill all of these details. Some of the fields are mandatory. This field is mandatory. This field is mandatory. This field is mandatory. And wherever you see star, that's a mandatory field. Similarly, if I have to create another object like pay range, so I need to add the minimum pay, maximum pay, midpoint, grade of the employee, grade of that range, frequency of that range, status of that range. So these fields are mandatory and some are optional. Some allows you to input the date. This is a date field. You can only select the date from the calendar. And this is a mandatory field. This allows you text or a number, and it allows you up to maximum of 32 characters. Okay, now all of these attributes of the fields are defined in corporate data model. So why do we see these fields in pay range? Why do we see that this field is a mandatory, this field is a optional, this field is a drop down? because these are defined in the corporate data model. If I have to add one more field here, or if I have to set the maximum limit for any of the field, if I have to make a field mandatory or optional, I can do it in corporate data model. Okay, is that clear?
Can you please show us?
We'll see. First, understand what are the objects. We will see everything. Don't be in a hurry. We'll see
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Venu?
Yes.
Sorry. When you have a question, like in the frequency which you just showed, there's a drop down, right? Say if we want to add
Yes.
another field in there, you know.
Yeah. So wherever you see the drop downs, now
Yeah.
these drop downs are either the pick list. These are called either pick list, or this itself is a object. Okay. You need to understand the structure, then you will know whether it is an object or a pick list. Now frequency is also an object. Whatever frequencies that we have created here, now you go and see here, these are all the frequencies which are showing up in that drop down. Okay, and if I ought to create my own frequency, you can go and create a frequency as well. So frequency is also an object. Okay, so depends. Now, not all the drop-down values of a particular object are the objects. Again, another object. No. Yeah, if it is a currency, you will not find currency here. Currency can also be defined here. Currency can also be defined in the system, but not here. Frequency is also one of the foundation objects, so you can create here. Okay, we'll see that what are the pick lists that we have, what are the objects that we have. So you need to understand the structure and the type of the fields or type of the objects that we have.
Venu, just one question, Venu. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Venu, the thing is, this implementation process, like which we actually follow, is it like common to all the countries except the language and all that requirements?
Yes, this is the one implementation guide for all the customers across the globe. The customer is in US or UK or Australia or China or Japan. This is what we follow across the globe.
Okay, Venu. Yeah, thank you, Venu.
Requirement may vary from company to company, customer to customer. Okay, but these are the standard objects what SuccessFactors gives.
Okay.
Any other custom objects you want, you can create. Any of the some of the or most of these fields are standard fields what SuccessFactors has given. But if you want to customize it, we can do that. Where do we do that customization? We do that customization in corporate data model. So first we'll be going through all of the data models. In tomorrow's session, we'll be looking at corporate data model. So how do we modify the corporate data model? How do we add a field? How do you change the attributes of the field? All of that we'll be looking at in tomorrow's session.
Okay.
Today, we'll just go through what data models we have and what are each of those data models used for. It is very important to know, because you'll be getting questions like, what are the data models? Now, tomorrow in your interviews, you'll be asked like, what are the data models you have? Okay. Now, once you give all of this data model, they'll ask you, what is each of those data? What is succession data model used for? What is corporate data model used for? How do we make a field mandatory? How do you make a field optional? Or how do you make if you change how to change the attribute of the field? Where is a particular object defined? You'll be getting all these questions in your interviews, and even in your certification, you will get to 10 questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Clear on corporate data model? What exactly is corporate data model? Okay.
Yeah.
Next is
sorry, Venu, just one more thing. What is this blueprint called? Is there something related to
no. So please don't deviate from the topic what we are discussing. Whatever that we are discussing, let's focus on that. Okay. And then any other doubts that you have, either we can discuss them in the end of the session or sometime when we discuss about that.
Okay, Venu, sorry. Yeah.
country specific succession data, corporate data model. Now, as the name says, it is specific to country. It is related to foundation objects, but specific to a country. Okay. And the example can be defining the corporate address format. Mainly, it is used to define the corporate address format. So whenever you create a location of the customer, okay, let's say your customer says we operate from 4 locations, okay, so we'll have to go and create those locations. And while creating the location, we need to fill the address of that location. Now, if I say my company is operating from Bangalore, so I need to have the complete address of that location. If I say I'm operating from New York, I need to have the address format, address of New York. Now, each and every country has got a different address format. Now, in India, we have different address format, like we have states, we have taluks, we have districts, we have pin code. Okay. Similarly, your UK has got a different address format. They have counties. They may not have states, or they may not have some other districts, but they have a different address format. They may not call the pin as pin or pin code. They might call it as a zip or a zip code. Okay, maybe some countries the address format is completely different and there are some mandatory fields. So every country has got a different address format and we need to maintain that address in the system. Okay, and these address formats are defined in country-specific corporate data model because location is a foundation object that we define in corporate data model. Within location, you have this corporate address. So if I go try to create a location, it gives me here a field under business address. You see here business address. Under business address, we have country. If I go select, I don't see any fields now, but if I go and select a particular country, I see a list of fields specific to that country. India, we have this address format. Address line 1, 2, 3, town or city, district, state or union territory. And if I go click on the state or union territory, I see all the states of India. And then you have PIN. If I go and choose a different country, United Kingdom. So some of the fields are same, but some are different. You see here state. Earlier we had state or union territory, but we have now state with these states. And then we have a postal code and county. This is my county. I'll have to select the county here. And each and every country that you select, you will see a different set of fields. Now here, this is a mandatory field. And you don't have anything called state. You have regions in Saudi. And you have a different address format. And where are these fields coming from? These are coming from country-specific corporate data model. SuccessFactors gives us all of these standard data models. They give us the standard data models and all of these are standard. Now, additionally, anything that you want to add, maybe you are implementing for Saudi, but your customer says, I want to have some more information maintained in the under business address. So you can go and create a field or you can change the properties of the field. Maybe some field I want to have mandatorily maintained. We can make that field mandatory. You can do that. And where do we do that? We do that in country specific corporate data model. Okay. Is this clear?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And then third data model that we have is succession data model. Succession data model is all about employee data. It is all about employee data. If you open any employee profile, whatever fields that you see on employee, all of this is coming from succession data model. Any field that you see here, these are coming from succession data model. Now, group of fields form a portlet or a block. Like personal information is a block. with these set of fields. Okay, and these fields again have got different properties. Some fields are optional, some fields are mandatory, some fields are drop downs, some fields are date fields. Okay, and these are defined in succession data model. What fields you want to see in personal information, job information, comp information, or national ID information. So those are defined in succession data model. All of these fields and all of the portlets or blocks are defined in succession data model. Okay, clear on succession data model?
Yeah.
Then next is country specific succession data model. Again, as the name says, country specific. It is specific to employee data, but country specific data. It is employee data, but specific to a country. Example, we have a national ID here. Under employee information, we have national ID details. If I go to national ID, you see have country and then national ID card. For country Australia, the national ID card that we have is tax file number, and the tax file number is to be maintained in this format. If I go and if I am hiring an employee in India, so I'll be choosing the national ID as India. And the national ID card will display the ID cards of India, which is PAN card and Aadhaar number. And each of these national ID type has got a specific format. You see, this is to be maintained as 5 alphabets, 4 numerics, and 1 alphabet. Okay, this allows only to input in this format. If I try to give a different format, it gives me error saying, please enter a valid permanent account number. Similarly, if I go and select Aadhaar number, so I'll have a different format here. This is a different format. Each country has got a different national ID, and that national ID is to be maintained in different format. So, and these are defined in country-specific succession data model. Okay. Example, national ID. We also use the country-specific data in other areas like job information as well. If I go to this employee, and under employment information, we may have to maintain some additional information specific to this country. Examples, the employees who are working in US will have a FLSA status maintained. Okay, you have a EEO job category to be maintained. So these are specific to country US, but not for India or any other country. Now, while hiring the employee in India, you will not see that field. Now, this employee belongs to Australia, and you see here ramp area or fund or source system for or some fields which are specific to only Australia. And similarly, if I go and select some employee who is in US, you'll find a different fields there, different fields in job information. So maybe the portlet remains same for everyone. Some common fields in each portlet are common for every employee, but there are some fields which you will only see specific to that country. You see here FLS status. This was not available for Australia employee. We have EO job group. This is specific to US, not for other employees. If I go to another employee who is in India, I will not see these fields. And these fields are defined in country-specific succession data model. Okay. Clear so far? 4 data models?
Yeah. If you don't mind, can you just quickly run through the 4, like just the overview?
Yeah. Corporate data model is used to define foundation objects. Okay. And country-specific corporate data model is used to define the corporate address or the business address of a country. And then succession data model is all about employee data, and succession country specific succession data is about employee but specific to a country.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. And then next is HRIS propagation. Propagation means transferring of data from one object to other object. We have some information available on one object, and if you want the same data to be available on other object, we use a concept called propagation. We transfer the data from one place to the other place. Okay, I'll give you an example. If I go to position, while creating position, it is mandatory to have the job of the employee or the job code of employee. So I go to position here. Position has all of these fields here. You need to create all of the, you need to maintain all of these fields to create one position. Okay. And here job code is one of the field which is mandatory. Job code can be selected. Job code is also an object. Okay. So when I go and select a job code, when I go and select job code, now you see some fields are automated. Job title, position title, you see it is also associate professional. And then you have employee class which is defaulted, pay grade which is defaulted, job level which is defaulted, regular temporary which is defaulted. That means 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6. All of these 6 fields got auto updated based on the code that we have selected, job code that we have selected. Let's say I'm selecting craft workers. Now you see this job title and position title is changed. Then the employee class, pay grade, job level, these fields are also changed. So that means every time you select a job code, system is bringing some values from job code and updating it here. Okay. Now this doesn't have any data. So it has not updated. It has cleared because this analyst job, we have not maintained any data correctly. Now, if I go select some other job code again, you'll see this got updated. Now, where are these maintained? These are maintained at job code level, at job code. Now, system is bringing, because these fields are already available on job code, system is fetching those values from job code and updating it on the position. Similarly, you maintain all of these details on the position, and each position is used to hire an employee. And while hiring employee, you will be choosing the position. If I choose this position, while hiring the employee, system will propagate all of this information to employee. Because at employee level, we need to maintain what company does the employee belongs to, or a division or a department or a location. All of this data is to be used for filling the employee data. So this data gets propagated from position to employee. So that is also an example of propagating the data.
Okay.
This is HRIS propagation. Okay. So we define what fields are to be updated. Maybe the field what we have on the job code is different with a different name. But if you want to bring that value to one of the fields of position, we can write that logic. And that logic is defined in HRIS propagation data model. Okay. Transferring of data from one object to another. Next is event reason derivation. Event reason derivation is all about the performing of the actions on the employee. And SuccessFactors, we have standard events available. SuccessFactors gives around 30 standard events like hire, rehire, transfer, promotion, termination, etc. Okay, like this, we have around 30 standard events. We cannot create any additional events. We have to use the existing events. Okay. Now, for each and every event, we need to create event reasons. At least one event reason. If customer want to use transfer, we have to use at least one event reason for transfer. Maximum can be any number, and we can create any number of event reasons. Okay. Now for hire, examples of event reasons can be regular hire, intern hire, contractor hire. Okay. Those are examples of hire. For
Okay.
transfers, what are the examples? Location transfer, department transfer, division transfer, manager transfer, country transfer, company transfer. So these are all examples of event reasons of transfer. Promotion, promotion with grade change, promotion without promotion with pay and grade change, promotion without pay change. So these are examples of promotion. Termination, voluntary termination, involuntary termination, better job opportunity, employee's death. So these are all examples of termination. So each and every event reason, for every event reason, we need to tell the system when should this occur. Whenever, if I'm going and changing employee's location, what is the event reason that system should trigger? Now, if I give option of choosing the event reason, if I give the HR the option, if I give HR or manager the option of choosing the event reason from the drop down. So all of those event reasons what we create will show up in the drop down. Let's say we have created 30 event reasons, like we have company transfer, we have country transfer, we have manager transfer, or we have promotion with grade change, promotion with salary change, promotion with grade and salary change. So we have created all of these event reasons. If I give option of choosing the event reason while making the changes for the employee, users might select a wrong event reason. Now I'll choose location transfer and change the grade of the employee. I'll choose grade. I change the grade of the employee and say I choose location transfer, because location transfer has got only one level of approval. Grade change has got 4 levels of approval. So what I'll do, instead of choosing the event reason promotion, I'll choose transfer. Okay. Now there's a possibility of choosing a wrong event reason by users. To stop that, what we can do is we can write a logic, we can define a logic so that system automates the event reason based on the field that user is changing. If I change location, system will consider it as a transfer. If I change grade, system will consider it as promotion or demotion. Okay. Now that is common for all the employees across the organization. Any employee you see with a particular change, system will give you that respective event reason. That logic is defined here in event reason derivation. Logic for event reasons. Okay. And then last one is workflows. Now, along with each event reason, if you want a particular workflow to be triggered, you can create any number of workflows. Workflow is also one of the foundation object. We can create n number of workflows, one with only one level, one with 2 levels, one with 3 levels, one with 4 levels. One level is manager, one level is manager's manager, one level is HRBP. So different workflows can have different approvers. And once we define these approvers, we need to tag that to a particular process. When a location transfer is initiated, I want a particular workflow to be triggered. When a promotion is triggered, I want a particular workflow to be triggered. So that logic for the workflows are configured in workflow rules. Event reason is a foundation object. Workflow is also a foundation object, but the logic for these objects are defined in workflow rules and event reason derivation data model. Clear on all the 7 data models? Okay.
Yes.
Now let's see, where do we define them? Where do you, if I have to go define the corporate data model, if I have to change something in the data model, where do I do that? all of these data models, SuccessFactors gives us the standard data models. So from partner rates or from Learning Hub, we can download these data models and upload it into the customer system for the first time, the standard ones. And from there on, whenever you need or whenever you want to make some changes to the data model, you need to download this data model, make changes to the data model, upload back into the system. That's the procedure. You export the data model, standard data model from the system, make changes to the data model, and import back. So that's the process. Okay. Now, corporate data model, we can import and export from provisioning or instance. Initially, in the initial days, we were doing this import and export only through provisioning. But later in one of the releases, they have given us the option of doing the import and export of corporate data model from instance as well. To cut down the dependency on the provisioning, SuccessFactors has given this option from instance to maintain this data model from instance. Same thing with country-specific corporate data. So both of these data models can be either imported or exported from provisioning or instance. Now, if I don't have provisioning access, that's fine. I can manage this from instance. I can manage this from instance now. Third data model, which is succession data model. This can be imported. This can be imported and exported from provisioning and only export from instance. If I have to import, if I have to export the data model, export is download. I can download it from instance, but to upload this data model, I'll have to log into provisioning. Same thing, succession data model. Earlier in the initial days, we were importing and exporting it from provisioning. And one of the releases, they have given the option of exporting the data model, downloading the data model from instance. Same for country-specific succession data model. This can be, now, changes can be done in your local machine. Once you download the data model, you can make the changes in the data model. To reflect the changes in the system, you need to upload that updated data model. So to update corporate and country-specific corporate, you can do it from instance. But to update them or to import them into the system, we'll have to log into provisioning for succession and country-specific succession data model.
Okay.
HRIS propagation, we don't have the HRIS propagation data model in system now. Now, how are the propagations working? I've shown you the propagation, right? Now, how are that working? Now, this propagation data model is converted into a concept called business rule. This functionality is migrated to a business rule. Now, all of the propagations, we manage it through business rules from instance. Business rules are ways to implement logic. We define the logic in the business rule in instance. Okay. This is on the HRIS propagation. Same with event reason derivation. We have the business rule now. We don't use data model anymore. In the recent releases, 2022, they have migrated the event reason derivation to business rule. All of the event reasons, the customers are converted into a business rule. Workflows, we have two options. Customer can use data model or they can use business rule. Now, similar option, we had it for event reason also earlier, but now it is completely business rule. But here in the workflow rules, if you want to use data model, then you import and export from provisioning. Or if you are using business rule, we use it in instance. There's an option in provisioning to switch from data model to business rule. We don't do this frequently. Once we have selected option of business rule, you will not see workflow data model in provisioning. That would be converted to a business rule. Okay. Now, maintenance of business rule is easier than maintenance of data model, because business rule can be modified with simple steps in instance. But whereas if you have the data model if you have the workflow data model in XML language, every time you want to make a change, you will have to go download the data model from provisioning, make changes in the code, upload back into the system, come back to instance, test the system. If you have some changes to be made again repeat that process of logging into provisioning, downloading, making changes and uploading. Whereas the business rule can directly do it in the instance. Okay. So this is how you define your data models. Okay.
Okay.
Clear so far?
Yeah.
Concept wise, is it clear?
Yes.
No. For succession data model, uploading the data model for the first time is mandatory. For every customer, we need to upload. Now, basically, we are using only these 4 data models. And we'll migrate, and when you start your implementation, you'll switch to business rules. It'll enable that switch of business rules for workflows. Okay. And out of these 4 data models, all of these 4 data models are to be uploaded in the provisioning first time. And for these 2 data models, we have the option of managing it through Manage Business Configuration. There's a screen called Manage Business Configuration in instance. Any field that you want to add at the employee level, any attribute that you want to change the field, like mandatory to optional, optional to mandatory, converting a text to a pick list, converting text to user field. All of these changes can be done through Manage Business Configuration. This can be done through front end option of Manage Business Configuration. But for the first time, you will have to upload the standard data model in provisioning. But from there on, instead of doing it in the data model, you can do it in Manage Business Configuration. Now, you may not have to add or do many changes in these data models, because this is related to configuration. Your customer says, I want to have these companies in the system, or I want to see these locations in the system. But they will not say that I want to have this field added in location object, because location is created by consultant in the backend. Customer will not have access to create a location. Customer will have access to use that location, what we have created. While hiring, customer will see a field called location. In the drop down, they will see all of those locations, what we have created. Okay. Now, so they will not give any custom requirements here, but even if they give those requirements, we can do that through data model here. You will be getting a lot of requirements here in succession or country specific, we may not, but yes, succession data model will definitely getting some requirements to add a field in personal information, to add a field in job information, to add a field in comp information, or to change the property of the field in personal information, or to change the label of a particular field. So all of those changes, we can do it through Manage Business Configuration.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
Data models?
For this data model, do we add any custom fields or custom?
Yes, data. We use data models to create custom fields. Now, corporate data model, or what do we do in corporate data model? We define foundation objects. Okay. Now, foundation objects, we have some standard fields. Additionally, system allows you to add some custom fields. There are up to each object, we have around 20 text fields. We have 10 date fields. We have 20 long fields. We have 20 decimal fields. These are custom fields which can be added to any foundation object. Each foundation object, we can add these many fields. Again, These fields are also given by SuccessFactors. Only thing is you'll have to go and enable that field, change the label of the field. Okay.
Thank you.
Now let's look at, because we have to work on because we have to work on the data models. Let's look at some of the basics of data model. Okay, so how many of you are familiar with data model? Sorry, XML language.
Language? No, not language.
Not XML language. Okay.
No.
So let's.
Is it mandatory?
It is mandatory to have knowledge of XML.
We have.
You'll not be writing code here. You'll not be doing any kind of coding. But looking at the data model, you should understand what is configured, how is it configured. At least that knowledge you should have.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, yeah. If that is the case, yes, little bit, but
Okay.
not that we can do it ourselves.
Okay, don't worry. I'll give you those insights. So XML language, the first thing that we should know is the syntax of code that we write. It is always between the opening and closing tag. Any code that you want to write, it should be between opening and closing tag. This is opening tag and this is closing tag. Okay, opening and closing. Let's say I want to describe something. So description. This is a sample description. So I've done with my description. Close it. This is opening and closing of a code. Now maybe my description contains 10 lines. So 10 lines of text. So add all of the 10 lines of text, and at the end you add your closing tag of description. Okay. And incorporate data model, the highest element is your corporate data model. So you have corporate data model opening and corporate data model ending. This is opening and closing tag. Okay. And within corporate data model, you have description. So you have just a description. I'll add it here. What exactly is your corporate data model? So that's your description. Now, if you see, this is at the next level and within data model. Okay. Now, what do we do in corporate data model? We define HRIS element. We define the foundation objects. And these foundation objects are called HRIS element. Each foundation object, location is one HRIS element. Pay grade is one HRIS element. Pay component is one HRIS element. Frequency is one HRIS element. So you add your HRIS element. And you close your HRIS element. And what do we do in HRIS element? We can only maintain label. Again, label you'll have, this is label. Label opening and label close. Okay. We can only maintain labels for HRIS elements. Now, SuccessFactors gives you an object called location group. This standard element. I don't want to see it as a location group. I want to see it as city. Okay. Now go to the label. Here in the label, you'll see it as location group. Go change this label to city. That's it. Against location group object, go and change the label. That's the only thing that you can do in HRIS element. Okay. And each HRIS elements contains some fields. Right? So here we have HRIS fields. Opening of HRIS fields and closing of HRIS fields. Element contains fields. Element contains fields. Data model contains elements. Okay, so highest level is corporate data model. Under corporate data model, we have elements. Elements only we can change the label. And elements contains the fields. Each element contains some set of fields. So what can we do with the fields? We can change the label of the fields. One of the field name is custom string. We can go change it to something else. Code, external code, name, description. We can change it to any label. Okay. We can change the max length. Now each field, the max length is defined. Now some fields allow only 32 characters. Some fields allow only 100 characters. Some fields allow 256 characters. If I want to restrict some field to allow only certain number of characters, we can restrict that maximum length. You can set the maximum length. We can make a field required or optional. And we call it required by making it either true or false. If it is false, that's an optional field. If it is true, it is a mandatory field. Now some field is showing up as mandatory in the front end. And if you want to make it optional field, you go to that particular field, change the required attribute from true to false or false to true. If you want to make it mandatory, make it true. If you want to make it optional, make it false. And you can also remove the code of required is equal to true or false if you don't want it to be mandatory. Only if it is mandatory, you'll have to go and set it as required is equal to true. If you want a field to be optional, either you can completely remove that code of required is equal to, or just set it to false. From true, you set it to false. Okay?
Okay.
And you can also set the visibility of the fields. We only see some fields in the front end, but in the back end, there are many fields. So how are they controlled? They are controlled through visibility, either none or both. None meaning that field is not visible in the front end. Both meaning that field is visible and we can edit that field. We can also have it as view, but it is of no use. If you have a field as view, what do we do with that field? It only shows up if that field has value. If it is set to view, you cannot maintain the value. Right? So that's why we have either none or both. If it is none, back end the field is available, but front end you don't see that field. And if it is set to both, it will show up and it allows you to edit that field.
Okay.
Okay. So for each field, we can have the label maintained. We can enable that field. We can make it mandatory or optional, and we can set the maximum length. Okay.
Already, Venu, XML should be defined for the default
Yes.
field, right?
All
can
of
use
these
this.
fields, all of these fields are available when you import the standard data model into customer system. You will find everything available. Only if your customer asks for a change, you'll have to download the data model and make the changes. And where do you make the change? What change your customer has asked? If your customer has asked for the label of a location group, to go to that particular element, check the label and change the label. Your customer want to add a new field in location object. Go to location object. Okay. Element, HRIS element, select location. You'll find all of the elements. We have, no, there are around 11 elements in corporate data model. So go to that 11 or 17 elements, find out where is the location. And then for that location, you see the fields, which field you want to modify. Again, under HRIS element, each element you have some 80 or 90 fields, 70 fields, I think. Okay. 20 custom fields, 20 custom text fields, 10 date fields, 20 long fields, 20 decimal fields, apart from the standard 10 or 11 standard fields. Okay. Now these fields can be modified. And you can also convert a text field into a drop down using pick list ID. You just have to maintain the pick list ID. Just go add a code called pick list ID is equal to and give the pick list ID, whatever ID. Now let's say I have a pick list called, pick list means a drop down. I have a pick list called gender. So go select that gender. Now this field will start showing up as a drop down and it will display all the values of gender. Okay. So these are the basics of data model, and we'll be doing the corporate data model in tomorrow's session. And before we do that, I want all of you to install a software called XML Pad in your systems.
Okay.
XML Pad is a small software which is available in, it is open source. You can download it from Google and install. It's a small software, less than 1 MB. Okay. You can access the data models using XML Pad. It is for beginners, it is very easy to understand the XML coding in XML Pad. Okay. We can also access now, if you don't want to install XML Pad, or if you don't have option to install, if you are using maybe your company laptop and you don't have access to download and install the application, we can use Notepad, Notepad++, WordPad, can use all of this. But it would be, it is not that easy to maintain in Notepad, but XML Pad, it is very easy. Any beginner can easily understand the data model in XML Pad. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Any doubts? Feel free to ask
Wait a-
any questions. No, yeah. Go ahead.
Can you send me the video, because I missed like initial 30 minutes. So
Yes.
if you can send me the video.
Yeah, request for everyone, please be on time. If you miss something in the initial session, then you'll not be, you'll feel like you're lost.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, since we have started with the configuration, so and you're new to this subject, each and every bit of information is useful. Okay, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes, the recording will be shared. You can go through the recording.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Venu, is this blueprint different from framework?
Blueprint is where you actually gather the information from customer. Okay. Okay. Now, when SAP, we are using the terminology of blueprint. Okay, where you gather the information from customer. You have within blueprint, we have that as is and to be. Now, what is the current process, what your customer is following, and what your customer want to see in system. Okay. What all companies they want to have, what all locations they want to create. Now, how do you want the logic to be defined? What logic is to be applied for event reason? So all of this we take it in a blueprint. Okay. Whereas in SuccessFactors, we don't use the blueprint. Now we'll have some functional, we'll have some BRDs like business requirement document. Okay. But initially, we'll be sharing them the configuration workbooks where they add all of their requirements into them. They share it with us. We consider those requirement documents for our configuration. And from there onwards, any additional thing that they want to have in the system, they will give it in the BRDs.
Okay. So the thing is, like, I came across some position description for a consultant role, HCM consultant, and it
SAP
was
HCM,
yeah,
yes, you might see that.
yeah. So it is mentioned there. So that's the reason why I just thought of
For
checking with
success
you, like.
factors, you will not see anything called blueprint.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, Venu. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Venu.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
catch up tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah. Get it. Bye.
Thank you, Venu.
Thank you. Bye.